Ian Carencross here. Today I'll just be sharing some of my reading habits and my thoughts on books. Over the past few years, I've taken a liking to nonfiction and I prefer it over fiction now. The book I'm reading right now is Algorithms to Live By, The Computer Science of Human Decisions by Brian Christian and Tom Griffiths. It intrigued me because my job as a search engine evaluator and my other data entry stuff is to improve algorithms. I think like a computer algorithm sometimes. And this book has some insight into problems we agonize over that computers have already solved. A lot of the books I read on my tablet, I've only highlighted a few passages. So this time around, I'm trying to highlight much more to be able to come back to it later. I mean, that's one of the advantages of ebooks over books, is you can search the text pretty easily. You automatically have a list of all your highlights and notes. That's easier to parse than flipping through the pages of a paper book. And with ebooks, you could also Control F to find things by keywords, which is pretty handy for me. Paper books are more tactile. You have more of a feeling of accomplishment once you finish one. You can easily see how many pages you've gone through. With an ebook, it's more virtual. Some research shows that you remember and comprehend more from paper books and ebooks. I like ebooks more for the benefits I just mentioned. They take up less space than the books in my bookshelf. It's backlit, so you don't need an extra light to read it at night. And for me, it's more comfortable to hold an ebook than a real book. It's difficult to find the right position to read a paper book a lot of the time. Almost every reader I talk to prefers the paper books to the ebooks. I guess it's also a break from the screens that we're always looking at. I read 12 books last year, and my goal is to read at least 20 this year, and I'm on pace to meet that. I've read 8.5 books so far. The smaller goal is to read 20 to 30 pages a day, only taking about 30 to 45 minutes. Most people play video games in their free time. The last few games I've bought on Steam didn't really hook me. I spent a similar amount of time reading, and it's probably a better way to spend that time as well. I'm also trying to narrate audiobooks as a side gig. I auditioned for those through ACX, that's Audible site for connecting authors and publishers to narrators. I've already narrated one short book on audio engineering that sold 67 copies so far. It's only a little bit of money that's paid out, but it's better than nothing. It's my first project. I came into audiobook narrating from a production standpoint. Since I'm skilled in audio engineering and trained in it, I was looking for extra ways to make money at it. And of course, I also enjoy reading. Most people come into this without the production skills. They just want to voice act. The acting part of it has been a bit of an uphill battle for me. I don't have the most emotional voice. I don't audition for fiction, which most people do. I mostly stick to nonfiction in my auditions. My habits and reading for pleasure thus match what I'm trying to do as a narrator. I think I've auditioned for 13 or 14 titles so far. I think I should step that up, auditioning for at least one every 2 days, if not every day. But let's get back to books themselves. A lot of people stop reading after high school or college. I think a big reason for that is that the classics in the curriculum are boring or hard to follow. I wish more high schools and maybe even earlier schooling would let kids pick what they're actually interested in reading. That would cultivate a lifelong reading habit. Good fiction improves empathy. Good nonfiction informs you. I think reading improves focus, while social media is shortening most people's attention spans. You could definitely have some of both though. I mean, some years I do post all the books I read that year to Facebook. Reading books goes more in depth than just an article, or as is increasingly common, just reading headlines on a social media feed. On the converse side of all these positives, nonfiction books also aren't the definitive source on subjects. They can have inaccurate statistics, chapters that are entirely wrong or outdated, or the whole book could be useless. You have to look at most informative media you consume with a critical eye. Take most things with a grain of salt. Absorb what's useful to you, reject what seems fishy, or just wrong. It can be a positive experience overall, but every reader will also read bad books trying to find the good ones. Personally, I dump bad books, even if I'm half or 2/3 of the way through. A lot of readers think that you need to finish every single book you read, and to me that's wasted time. That's falling into the sunk cost fallacy, that just because you sunk so much time into it that you have to reach its conclusion. It's low stakes compared to what sunk cost was describing in economics, but still you can cut your losses, save time, drop bad books. I also think a trashy book can be a worse use of your time than, say, watching a great documentary or listening to a great podcast. Sometimes I enjoy reading, sometimes I think of it more as a chore. When I'm having trouble getting through books and I do want to keep going through them, I'll put on some instrumental music like Brian Eno, Stars of the Lid, or Born Under Club of Gore. Maybe I don't get as much out of books when I put on music behind them, but I still want to make it a good experience. I mean, I don't have to do a book report on any of these. They shouldn't be homework. One of my hobbies is writing. I've kept a blog running called June Gloom Trails since 2017, publishing some poetry, some musings, some of the writing for my YouTube videos. It's common sense that reading would make you a better writer, and I think that's only up to a certain point. There's avid readers that never write, there's writers that don't read that many books. You have to put in the writing regardless. Going into movies based on books and songs inspired by books could go for a lot longer. These thoughts will be about it for today. I'd implore you to find a book that's actually interesting to you and read it. You can read the reviews of it on Goodreads or Amazon. You could search for books of a certain topic on Reddit. I find some books that way. Thanks so much for watching to the end. I'm Ian Carencross. I'll see you in the next video.